And here we are.
Recording has started. The anxiety. So today is final version 2. Yes.
Woo!
So let's start with a big announcement that is highly personal to me. This is not my regular outfit. This is my Canadian outfit. I bought it to celebrate finally getting the citizenship. So it looked like the most Canadian thing I could find in the store. I did it, but to showcase everything, I am Canada up top, NASA and planets in the United States on the bottom. This is what the pandemic has done, and I am very proud of it. I have geographical clothing. Oh my god!
Wait. Congratulations! Woo!
Are you doing a child reveal party? Like a child? No, sorry, a child gender reveal party.
Oh god, no! The colors are accidental. It's just that's the balloons that I have under my desk. Why do I have balloons under my desk? That's a different story.
I'm fully aware of this. I have pictures of you going, well, I have a blow-up unicorn because I started shopping for an Amazon screen or screen on Amazon. And I was like, this makes sense.
Yes.
So
these things happen.
Today, the topic is web stories. Are you ready?
Yes, it is. Yes, I'm ready.
I don't think you're fully ready. I'm going to share something with you.
I'm never ready and ready at the same time. I'm Schrödinger's ready.
So what is this? I sent you a link. You don't have to share it with everyone.
Okay.
I call this payback. Why? Let me give context to Martin's face. A few years ago, Martin invited me to a conference in Germany.
Yes.
In German.
Well.
Do I speak German? Well enough to guess a few words. Well enough to read what protein I'm eating on the menu. Duolingo says that I am 30% fluent. So I have shared with Martin an article about web stories and a web story about web stories. But what's the catch, Martin?
I mean, the web story is absolutely beautiful. So as far as I can see, I'm going through that for you to play it. It's finished. I don't know what the catch is. There's beautiful meme images in here.
It's all in French. Have you not noticed?
Oh, sorry. Google Translate. Oh, I did not notice because Google Translate just smoothly goes, nope, this is a language that my user does really not like. So it just gets translated. True, yeah.
So wait.
Ah, shit, that was too fast. Quoi aime ça?
So
I don't even know.
This is my point.
En milieu CTR, and a better CTR, right?
Yes.
En milieu visibilité, a better visibility. Superbe alternative à Instagram and Facebook pour plus de trafic. So a better alternative to Instagram and Facebook for more traffic?
Yes, and I'm not, well, there's a reason for that.
French.
Yes, that's the point. I'm going to be asking you questions, and you don't have to warn me. You can choose to answer in semi-French, and I will try to guess what you're thinking about web stories.
I get to answer in semi-French. I love it.
Let me get started because there's something that you don't see. I went on Google. I you know how some people, they go on Instagram and spend hours, and others go on YouTube? I went on Google, and I had I dug up all the questions that people have about web stories.
Uh-oh.
Yes. So there's a few that you can answer in French. I am ready with the first one. It's an obvious one.
Okay.
What is a web story?
C'est extra. It's fantastic. It's a
C'est fantastique.
C'est fantastique. Magnifique. Exactement. All my French, like, here goes my French. This is all the French
what I like is that you have the language, but you also have the moves. C'est fantastique.
C'est fantastique. C'est magnifique.
So if you had to summarize it in a non-official corporate way, how would you describe it to, let's say, me?
So a web story is a very visual thing that you can build as part of your website without having to use something like Instagram or Facebook or the other kind of closed ecosystems. And they don't disappear after 24 hours unless you want them to disappear after 24 hours. So you are in control. You can build your own visual storytelling that works in everyone's browser.
And you know what I like? It's on you host it.
Yes.
It's your own.
You own it.
Exactly. So you have explained this quite well, and you have survived this round. But so the next one is still easy. How do I make a Google story? Tell me about the 3 options.
Oh, so the easiest thing is to probably use a tool. I know that Pascal from a closely related team to ours is building a visual story creator tool for WordPress. So if you have WordPress, you can use that plugin. I think it's just called AMP Stories for WordPress or something. I don't know what it's called. I would have to ask Pascal, I think. So that's one if you use a WordPress site. If you don't, then you can code it. Like, if you code your website from hand, you use HTML, and that's pretty much what a web story is. It just uses special components from AMP to do that. But if you go to, amp.io, I think, or amp.dev, amp.dev, I think, is the domain for their documentation, and you search for web stories, then they tell you how to do that.
Yeah.
So that's number 2. And then there's like a bunch of third-party tools, whose names I don't remember.
Because some of them are rather generic in the name. Like I have checked and I can't bring them up to my mind. But I have to say that the story I shared with you wasn't done by me because visually I'm a real challenge. I asked one of my friends, and her name is something that you will enjoy. Her brand is La Biscornue. So it's not a unicorn. It's a unicorn that basically is going all ways. Biscornue means that it's your horns are just uncontrollable. Basically, they're going wherever. So this describes her experience in WordPress because she went onto my website, she installed it, going, okay, I did this just for you. I hated the entire experience, but I can see the potential. So why did she hate it? Let me give you feedback.
Oh.
She told me it's super user-friendly in WordPress. It's amazing. But then every 5 minutes, I have a robot telling me it hates what I did. So her main complaint was the following. Since it's a robot, Martin, hang on with me. Since it's a robot, it cannot appreciate the fact that for that specific frame in the web story to work, the Mark Wahlberg GIF has to be smaller than the machine wants. Otherwise, it's not funny.
Okay, that's a very specific issue and requirement, I think. Yeah.
And I thought it was amazing. So I would like to know if anyone else had issues with Mark Wahlberg's size in their web story. Is there anybody that is going, this should be smaller? It's a true question, though, because
it's a legitimate question.
And now I do have that question. If we go outside of WordPress, do you think that control is the same? Do you think that the rules apply the same way?
Yeah, the rules pretty much apply the same way. It did bite me every now and then. I had one picture that was absolutely stunning in one of my underwater stories. It was unfortunately a landscape picture, but stories are mostly optimized for portrait because they are meant to primarily be seen on mobile, even though you can see them on desktop. And I couldn't for the life of me make the decision what to cut. It's like, okay, do I cut this part of the fish or this other part of the fish, or do I get the fish in, but then what do I fill the rest with? And I tried to convince the web story to allow me to do what I wanted to do. It did allow me to do what I wanted to do, but it complained at first. And I was like, come on, don't be like that. So it's not trivial sometimes.
So the email I got from my web story from my designer friend, and she's amazing. I highly recommend you anybody work with her because no fucks given. She will give it to you straight going, this is for your brand. This is not for your brand. And she basically wrote to me, do not panic. You will see many, 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 many orange errors, but they're not errors. They're just nice recommendations that nobody could ever meet. So I focused on the red, I got rid of the red, but some of the orange just doesn't make sense. So let's ignore it. So I'm just telling you, this is real, like this is not lab work. This is me releasing this story into the wild with some orange issues. And we'll see what it gives. Like, we'll see how it evolves. I want to be better at this, but I really wanted to give it an honest try to figure out what are the rules that are super strict and what I need to circumvent to actually reach more people. It's one of those weird things where it's accessibility and I deeply care about it. And then the other end is I'm never going to push out with that web story if I focus on all of this. So I'm being honest to remove the drama from it. I'm launching this. Is it beautiful? Yes, because a professional made it. Is it what I want it to be 100%? No, but I'm trying and we'll talk later. Maybe you'll have other fish issues where you have to decide fin or face. So it's been very interesting though, because I've been wondering, like, Mark Wahlberg, are you always going to be super big in web stories? What's going to happen to you?
Mark Wahlberg is big in web stories.
I love the fact that she told me Mark Wahlberg has to be small for this to work.
It just has to be.
I have another issue that I had personally, so that's why I want to talk about these unusual things. I discovered that we needed to upload a web cover, like the little story cover.
Yeah.
So you know what I did? I took my first frame, took a screenshot of it, uploaded it.
Yeah. I have to admit I did that too before.
Did it work for me? No.
Yeah. No?
I did. Rejected it.
I did something else with one of the stories where it's like you have to do this and that, and I'm like, fine. And then I just how did I do this? There's one thing in the story where the M test complained, and I technically implemented it so that the complaint disappears, but I didn't actually do the thing that for the reason it's complaining. It's like it has to have this attribute, and I'm like, fine, I'll specify this attribute, but I'll leave it empty just to screw with you. And they're like,
it's such a challenge because you want to do the right thing, and you're like, let me play with this.
Exactly, like, okay.
And honestly, that's what SEO is about for me, like just trying these new things out. So my next question, get ready. This is a real question. In the Google Web Stories, like commonly asked questions, are you ready? How can I upload myself on Google?
How can I upload myself on Google? This is kind of a Tron situation, isn't it?
Well, the answer is a web story. I mean, you must go through a web story.
Yeah.
That is the only answer.
Well, maybe, I don't know, but maybe the page experience ranking signal will remove the AMP requirement for uploading yourself onto Google. I don't know that.
So then it would be Core Web Vitals, but from a brand new point of view.
I mean, you have Vitals, right? I hope you do. If you don't have Vitals, you can't upload yourself to Google, I think.
Postmortem upload. Let's move on. Y'all, you know Peter Thiel is going to be on this. So let's get back to how can I post my biography on Google? Yes, this is one of the questions that follows this. So once again, is the answer a web story? Can you tell your story in a web story?
Probably. I mean, I told various stories in web stories. Why not? Yeah.
So this brings me to my next point. Here I was wondering, okay, do we showcase your diving web stories? But then I wondered, okay, do we expose your hobby that much? And then I went down a rabbit hole, starting with the diving part and ended with a Canadian obituary about Marilyn. So you're going to ask yourself, why am I talking about Marilyn? She has an amazing obituary. It's very long, very detailed, very, very Canadian.
Okay.
But let me read you the too long didn't read version. You have to imagine this lady with a perm, a pipe in her mouth, and a deck of cards in the picture. Margaret Marilyn Deatter, professional clipper of coupons, baker of cookies, terror behind the wheel, champion of the underdog, Ruthless card player and self-described queen bitch died on Tuesday, January 19th, 2021. This already makes you want to write this woman's story.
Yes.
But it is so, like, this teaser is nothing compared to the opus. I want to be Marilyn. Like, I think that this should be a web story because it has everything. I mean,
yeah, it sounds like, first of all, rest in peace, Marilyn, but holy shit, that sounds like an awesome person to hang out with.
Yes, but it also sounds like an amazing frame. I mean, think about this. I want a frame about this. Marilyn loved all children who weren't her own and loved her own children relative to how clean-shaven they were. She excelled at giving the finger and taking no shit. Like, I think that this woman should get a web story. I'm sorry, but it's true.
Yes. Maybe even a knowledge panel.
We are going to go off on knowledge panels for a second. A friend of mine has a knowledge panel, so we are in the process of trying to claim it. But the problem with the knowledge panel is that she's renowned for something she didn't know she was renowned for.
Oh, God.
So I had to convince her that she's a movie director. And now that she's on board, we're going to see what's going to come out of this. But she genuinely did produce the movie Google knows her for. But I have questions for you and John. Why don't you have knowledge panels?
I don't know. I'm not important enough, that's for sure. For John, I don't know. He should have a knowledge panel. I wonder.
So I did that research on Google.ca, and that's why I poked you earlier in the week going,
oh God. Mm-hmm.
Infinite Scroll? Is that you? So what I loved about this is that I actually genuinely went, does he have a knowledge panel? So let's go. And Google decided, no, let me show you all the ways you can look at Martin. This is what Martin Split looks like. And this is more Martin Split. And this is all of the Martin Split.
Oh,
but
God.
I checked for John. None of that. That was just Twitter, 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 Twitter. And then, where is John? So I clicked on that answer because I looked for John with his last name, and it told me that he was opening a barbecue 45 miles out of town. So
the more you know.
There's many Johns around the world with that name, but I think that John's knowledge panel should acknowledge that he is not this John, not this John, not this John, that John.
That John, not the one with a barbecue in Canada.
A friend of mine has a CV like this. He has just a simple website going, my name is Mikael, last name, and then he's like, I am not this one, I am not this one, I am not this one. And he also has a page that explains why the Austrian government had to make a ruling like there's a law named after him because of a certain text situation quite a few years ago. So yeah, I can't wait for Google to let loose on this and just the Austrian police thought he was the dude. I'll just leave it at that. I can't give more details. That's already too detailed.
Sounds fantastic, and I mean, like, police interactions are always
police interactions based on Google searches instead of real investigative work.
That's even worse, yeah.
Oh, that was amazing. But now there's a law to stop that. So this is very good.
Oh,
now,
God.
We have to get back to our own little story. So now that I have defended Marilyn's honor, we really love web stories. And I have 5 reasons why I love them. Why do you love them?
I love that it's such a interactive visual format. I love that we can highlight them specifically in Google search. That's also pretty cool. I love that you are in control of them. They are basically just a website on your hosted space, whatever that is. Wherever you host your website, that's where web stories live. And they're not just part of like this closed ecosystem that you have to deal with. And as I said, very visual, very fresh. Very entertaining.
So let me see what I wrote that I liked. Well, I like the fact that they load fast. I know this sounds weird, but it really, really matters to me.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that they can be discovered on Google. Like there's different entry, doors to get there. And this is something that matters to me a lot because most of the Instagram stories that I will be exposed to, it's either because I'm so old and don't care enough for visual content that Instagram is like, look at this. Or I have to click because I'm curious because of a weird title, or my thumb accidentally ended up and like I'm stuck on it.
Accidentally ended up on the web
You
story.
wouldn't believe the amount. This has happened to me. Instagram food story. Like you just go, okay, I want this, and then you're like, why is this burning? I thought I was making salad. So it's my fault. Like I will admit I don't like Instagram that much, and it confuses me, and there's too much. But I love the idea that you can take a web story and go, okay, this is my article, and it's really long. It's super detailed. I'm so proud of it. Like my web story article, it's pretty big, right? Just scroll down. Like it's got some stuff. It's talking about monetization, how to track it, how to make it international. Cool, great. But like, can we have it, small attention span? Yes, there is a story. And this is great. This is a great way to go, okay, let me distill this, give it to you straight, and then if you're interested, read on. But that brings me to something else. I know that web stories is not allowing teasers. So a web story is not supposed to be a no exit. It's not supposed to be a cul-de-sac. So how do you think this is going to go? Because we don't want influencers and everyone actually going, hey, this is a web story. I'm explaining to you that I'm going to be live at like 5 p.m. on YouTube, and it will be there. And then like they send you all over the place. What's the common ground? Where would you stop as a human being?
So I think just having teaser content is not really useful content in its own. So have something useful. I think there's a midway in between the two extremes where you like have to basically transform your entire content into the story, or just having like a story that basically just ramps up into teasering to go somewhere else, and that not necessarily just a live event, but also just like read this article to learn more. It's like I think if you can extract the main points and conclusions so that you can just read or consume the web story and then have like a self-contained unit of information, that's fine. But you have this cover, no, sorry, not the book, what's it called? The book, Jason, I think it's called, that basically gives you like at the end the opportunity to place different links. So you could say like, oh, hey, I just found this thing out, and I'm building this other thing, and here's some information that is by itself valuable and useful. And oh, by the way, check out the links in the next section where you can join our live stream next week or something like that.
So what I'm understanding is there's multiple ways to go about this. Number one is if you're quoting, like if you're doing a medical web story, you do need that slide at the end. The next step is to allow people to actually check the references and read on. So this makes sense, and it's not a teaser. It's just good due diligence. The second thing is if you want to take people further from the story. So you start with the story and it continues because the next chapter is somehow somewhere else because it makes more sense. You go there. The third approach, Martin, and this one is going to be very interesting for you. Star Wars. Prequel, sequel. So we could have like multiple, it's a multiverse basically. So you could have multiple web stories that point to each other. You could have web stories that are a sequel to an article you're going to, no, prequel to an article you publish, or sequel to the article you published. But I really wanted to disambiguate this, and you're the best person for me, not because you're technical, but because it's common sense. Like it just makes sense, but we have to explain it. So good, we're handling this well. Now, trick question. I've seen actually quite a few web stories, and I was really interested in this because I didn't realize I was looking at web stories. Why? Because there was one, it was like the top 10 sneakers, chunky sneakers you should wear. I hate watching these because I hate chunky sneakers. I'm happy we escaped them from the 90s. Why are we bringing them back? I'm like I just can't stop watching them. I have so many questions about this. Like, have we made them lighter by some chance? Because I remember as a kid, like those were heavy. But so I'm seeing like the top stuff. So it makes sense to browse, right? Computer, not computer, but these are full screen actually. They're not in portrait mode. I don't know how they did their stuff, but I like it. And then I saw another one. It was a pop-up. I interacted with a pop-up. Like, I had a meaningful
Wow.
relationship with a
The
pop-up.
pop-up. Wow.
And it was really nice because it was an onboarding pop-up. It was like,
Mhm.
okay, great. We know that you love us. Like, everybody loves us. It was a crypto website. Like, however, before you get started, you need to know this before you post anything. And I thought that was really good because it's like, okay, it was not one of those, we know you hate post-it, we know you hate pop-ups. It's well, we've onboarded a book in the pop-up, so now deal with it.
Mhm.
And what's your take on this type of creativity?
I think that's awesome. Experimenting with formats in different ways is definitely awesome and interesting. Experimenting with online event formats right now, and I think experimentation is what brings us forward. And if web stories can be part of that experimentation, that's awesome. And just again showcases their versatility.
Which actually, it ties into what I wanted to bring up as well. One of the things that I really, really loved in web stories for WordPress, Unsplash.
Mm-hmm.
We can choose pictures however we want. But I have to tell you about something. Unsplash is rather heavy when it comes to images.
Yeah, that's true.
And I installed Short Pixel to compress my images. So then my designer went, I don't know what's going on, but my images are getting all pixely and I don't know if it's web stories. I'm like, oh, I think I know.
Oh, oopsies. No, it says other thing here. Let me fix that for you.
And it's one of the potential drawbacks that I see. Many people are just so comfortable and so native with visual content that they don't think about the other component that makes web stories that interesting, is that it's fast. So I know that in the best practices, it says, you want pictures, you want videos. Actually, we prefer videos to pictures, but there's a disconnect because here I am explaining to my friend, yeah, that animated GIF is too heavy for a WordPress. WordPress just said no. Okay, I'm sorry, we can't have that phone. So how do you think we're going to be able to bridge this gap to make sure that this content is successful?
Absurdly enough, if you would opt for an actual video file over an animated GIF, you might actually have saved bandwidth because the animated GIFs are usually terrible in terms of compression if you compare them to, let's say, MP4 or H.264 videos. They're really good at bringing motion picture in small quantities and delivering that fast. Also, you have a hardware accelerated decoding codec in your device, very likely for most of the video formats. For GIF, that doesn't really exist. So I guess that's one way to bridge that specific gap. But generally speaking, it's a balance, and we have to strike this balance at all times. There's this other thing like, oh, websites should load fast. Yes, you know what loads the fastest? A blank website. Is that a good website? Fuck no, because it doesn't have any useful content on it. So
I have to stop you right there just to share a slice of life. So I work with museums and I help them out because currently museums are having a really, really hard time. Why? Because life, but on top of that, hackers are going around and they're like, okay, this museum website has not been upgraded in 10 years. Let me enter. It has high authority. Yeah. So we ended up in a situation where there was one website. So I had everyone test their speed. And one website with broken Flash, HTML, like Dreamweaver tables, I checked, like they were made in Dreamweaver. The person was like, yeah, I know. So this website actually loaded the fastest, was the most responsive in weird ways, and I was like, antiquated technology works well. Like, it meets all criteria for a fast loading website. Do I want this website to load though? No, I wish I hadn't seen it. And it's one of those weird things where I think a lot of us are going to think about, okay, so this web story, do I really, really, really need that like little wiggling banana? No. Like, can I? Yeah, this is another reference. One day we'll address it. But and to pick up on that balance, Twitter does it, right? You upload anything, like a GIF becomes a video. Screw you, it's a video. You live your life, it's a video.
Exactly.
And I think that it is going to become maybe a habit for people to just expect things to move without wondering about what format is it in. Do we need a GIF? Can the video replace it? And do we still call it a GIF? Yes.
Yeah, and I think we can call it a GIF, even if it's really a video. As long as it just like is a short animated thing, then I would just call
We
it.
should call it a GIF, technically.
Oh God, yeah, we should.
Okay.
I mean, it's very sad that the inventor of GIF doesn't know how to pronounce his invention properly, but
I have a friend of mine who did an entire talk on animated GIFs, like their story and the fact that they contain a lot of political code that should have been removed eons ago because many companies have just simply died and their code is still there. And it's an amazing ride. And the feedback they got was cannot pronounce the word GIF correctly. And it's like,
oh God, I see.
So I think we're slowly wrapping up our adventure, and I'm leaving you with one last question, because if anybody hears us, I'm hoping that somebody will make a web story for Marilyn and I can provide her obituary, or you can find her. And let's talk about John. It's about to get cheesy up in here. So if you were in charge of a web story about John, what 3 cheeses would you use to describe his life and legacy?
Oh my. So I think I would start with a good Tom, because that's a young cheese and very, very natural, very herbal. So like connecting him back to the Swiss roots. And then maybe we bring in a Belpachnolle, which is a little spicy, but still soft and nice, and basically just works in any situation and goes with everything. And I don't know where John's future is taking him, but I would say he probably wraps up with a nice blue cheese, lots of texture, lots of character, and
I
definitely want to remember.
I like this a lot. So we're just putting it out there. If any cheese fans want to let loose, tell John's story.
Through cheeses.
Oh my God, yes. And I'm going to leave with 3 facts that are very important to cheese.
Okay.
Cheese was created 4,000 years ago by accident.
I can see the accident part, but 4,000 years ago, my goodness.
I can see the 4,000 years ago, but I can't see somebody going, let's leave this cheese here and eat it after. Let's leave this milk. It has changed completely in texture, consistency. Let me give it a try. Like, no.
Why not? Yes.
And some cheeses are illegal in the United States.
That's correct. Yeah. Yeah.
And cheese caves are a real thing.
Yes.
So I have never met anybody with a cheese cave. I really want to.
I have never met one either, but I also really want to.
I'm letting you know because I know that Switzerland has a lot of bunkers, so I'm hoping
That's
that one
correct,
of them got converted into a cheese cave.
It probably did.
I'm thinking that, you know, that Venn diagram?
Yeah.
So before we close, at the end, I'm fascinated by animals, and I know that we have a few discussions that are completely random, like everything evolves into being a crab. It's honestly. And beyond that, I wanted to let you know that, okay, the platypus glows in the dark, but now they have found a shark that glows in the dark. It's the kite fin shark. Have you ever heard of that one?
No, and holy shit, do I need to see one in the wild.
But the problem is that it's not very, very easy to observe. So I think that reaching the Titanic is much easier. Like, it's a deep water shark, but it also brings up this kind of terror because it's 6 feet long and like glows in the dark and is a shark. But
fair.
Glow in the dark things, they always made me comfortable and cozy. Like, the glow in the dark stars that you can put up on your ceiling when you're a kid, and then you have black lights. And I don't think I would be comfortable now knowing that, hey, I could go swimming in incredibly deep water, so that's already hypothetical and will never happen, and meet a bioluminescent shark. Like this is not the nightlight I want, but it is something that I need to know exists. So I'm a bit ambivalent. Like platypus, you're like, of course, you're a magical animal. Please glow in the dark. Sharks, you're
Yes.
like, how does this make you a better killer? I'm wondering. So that's the big question I have, and that's what I'm going to dig into later. Like, why is this shark glow in the dark, and why is this an evolutionary asset?
I would not be surprised if it lures in prey like that. It's like, ooh, there's a source of light. There must be something useful or nice or interesting, and then goes hops, and it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
That
but
was
that's
not.
the anglerfish is like the nightlight. That's a 6 foot long shark. That's just like swimming towards you, barreling towards you while glowing in the dark.
That's true.
That's like a semi truck coming towards you. But
Can it control the luminescence?
Oh my god.
Because if it can control the luminescence, then maybe it just, I don't know, uses it for glowing shark purposes. I don't know.
Well, the article said there are still many, many question marks, but now I am going to wonder for our next episode if there's a glow in the dark octopus, because they can absolutely control the color of their skin. So oh my god.
That would be awesome.
Yes.
How do they know how the shark gets the bioluminescence? Does it generate it itself, or does it just basically have these bacteria or algae or whatever it is that actually create bioluminescence normally in its skin, or how does that work?
They use light to disappear. So maybe in some cases, being glow in the dark makes you disappear if there's a faint glow underneath like in the dark parts. But
maybe it's like these super highly tuned Honda Civic cars that like some younger kids drive or drove back in the days. I don't know if they're still driving those that have like floor lighting. Like they glow under the floor, so maybe the shark only glows on its belly side, so it kind of like looks as if like, oh yeah, no, that's sunlight.
See, this is what worries me. Like in the article, the scientist said something super unsettling to me. It's like, I was just like a kid at the bottom of a Christmas tree when taking this picture of the glow-in-the-dark shark. And I'm like, this raises more questions than...
That raises a bunch of follow-up questions, indeed, yeah.
So yes, I had a lot of fun with this. If anybody has feedback, yes, I'm leaving you with this cliffhanger. And next time, we'll see... Oh!
What's happening now?
We need to talk about bilingual web stories.
Web stories.
Hreflang works with web stories.
Oh, that's nice. I learned something I did not know. So that's cool.
Can you give me more feedback next time or on Twitter, because je dois savoir, Martine. C'est impératif, voyons.
Sure.
Hold on. Dans l'article, in the article, I'm going to look. Pour les web stories publiées en plusieurs langues, utilisez vos meilleures pratiques habituelles en matière de hreflang afin de mieux servir les utilisateurs. Guess what I just said?
Something about using hreflang with web stories, but there have been lots of words. And this is my problem with the French language. They have lots of letters that they just don't pronounce. They pretend that they are not there, but they freak out when you leave them out. And that confuses me.
Everyone. Oh. It's a romantic language, but I don't understand why. People have been telling me this for years. I'm like, I'm just happy I passed like the classes and they let me freely. But yeah, no, this is something that I'll dig into then and get back to you with, because I'm going to translate this web story and try it out.
All right. Awesome. In that case, I'll leave you with the overly complicated French word, which is 99. Bye-bye.
Ooh, bye-bye. I love the 99. That was a good play. Mwah.